You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. Designed for more than just therapists, if you're a helping professional in any way, diversity in clinical practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it's been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself, and if you're encouraged by it as well, share it with a friend. And whether it be through my one on one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author or speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you an encouraging perspective on a not so subtle presidential attack on MLK. Now, in another interesting turn of events, President Trump has made two significant changes regarding United States national parks, which will potentially have ramifications far outside the parks themselves. The first change is that there will be new raised fees for visitors who are not American citizens or permanent residents. The second change is that while Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth will no longer be deemed free days at the U.S. national parks, June 14th, which is both Flag Day and President Trump's birthday, will now be added to the list as free days instead. Now, whether or not you consider yourself a political person, and or no matter what side of political side you may be on or consider yourself to be, it's worth exploring the potential significance of these decisions on you, those you care about, and those whom you simply encounter on any given day. Here's some things that you can consider in that game. Consideration number one: raising rates for non American citizens promotes division and discrimination. As a therapist, I have the pleasure of helping people navigate personal and professional relationships all the time. Sometimes this includes overt and obvious acts of discrimination, negativity, polarization, and separation. In these times, there are intentional acts done to send a message that some people are better or more important than other people, simply based on unearned cultural differences. And yet, other times, often influenced by feared backlash or consequences, people have often gotten really creative in how they share their preference for those like them and their disdain for those that are not like them. And some of those ways include changing the rules to benefit some and exclude others, not based on earned merit or the earned loss of privilege by others due to showing themselves to be untrustworthy. No, they can simply hide behind seemingly benign rule changes, arguing that, oh, I don't think less of you. I'm just following the rules. Privately thanking the person who made those rule changes for taking a hit, providing an excuse for perpetuating discrimination on a daily basis. While I have no inside information on this, I must admit that it is what it looks like. It looks like the top taking a hit to give permission for those underneath them to cause division and discrimination. How? Well, this one act doesn't just impact park income per se. It impacts new conversations between people not trained to do so tactfully, forcing some people to police the citizenship of others. This would easily lead to separation in separate admission lines, for example, with citizens over here and non citizens over there, with those in person saying, no, it's not to discriminate. It's just to be more efficient and make the lines move more smoothly. But this ignores the psychological impact of everyone involved. Those who have to move to a separate line, then questioning their value. Those who have to order others to move to those separate lines, challenging them to do so tactfully and compassionately or without disdain or inconvenience in their voice and tone. And citizens standing in line just watching, trying not to make qualitative judgments about those in the other line. With no intentional effort to avoid these implications, this seems like a small change with ramifications so significant that it points toward a return to segregation style, separate but equal practices, and civil rights setback for our country. Speaking of civil rights setbacks, consideration number two is replacing MLK Day and Juneteenth with Trump's birthday sends a horrible cultural value message. On one hand, President Trump has a long history of valuing his name being put on things, from buildings, coins, awards, etc. Here, it looks like he saw MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and asked, why don't I have a day? I've done more than that guy. He's not that special. And Juneteenth shouldn't even be a thing. So, coinciding with legislative efforts to make Flag Day and Trump's birthday a federal holiday, something that people are actually trying to do, Trump said that in the meantime, we can start with these parks. First, it's pretty insulting to see the coincidence of Trump's birthday and Flag Day being on the same day, and to suggest we not say that it's actually about Trump, but it's about a desire to be patriotic by commemorating Flag Day. This alone would be the case, but not with Trump's birthday being the same day. This type of humble deference is nowhere in Trump's history. Instead, his frequent vying for awards and titles he hasn't earned has more precedent. Second, outside of his inflated perception of himself, these holiday switch efforts also miss the point of Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth altogether. They aren't to highlight who's the most special and important over other Americans. Instead, they're to commemorate a key moment in this country's history in Juneteenth, as we also celebrate the 4th of July, and a key figure in Martin Luther King Jr. linked with the civil rights movement, which also had a significant impact on the trajectory of the country as we know it today. And with no ill will intended, for President Trump to try to simply add his name to a list of significance, but to more importantly, to also remove that which he deems insignificant, cannot be taken as anything but a personal jab to millions of Americans who are just as American as he is and whose history deserves to be acknowledged just as much as well. Consideration number three is this: national parks are likely a testing ground for more changes to come. Again, let me be clear. I have no insider knowledge here. I am merely speaking to sociological trends where a significant change is made in an area deemed to be of low value, like, per se, how many times have you thought about emission standards in US national parks before this? And then, if things settle down after the initial outrage and it becomes the new normal, then it'll be fair game to be deemed success and also be considered safe to try elsewhere in more impactful ways. Not only that, but when they do, they can not only try what worked before, arguing discrimination. No, I'm just following the rules and the precedent set before me, and also establish efforts of the norm to build momentum and implications that it can have way beyond national parks. And if history is any indicator, that doesn't bode well for already marginalized communities who have done nothing wrong, but will now have to be on an ongoing state of readiness to prove their worthiness and deal with many people who treat them like no form of proof will be enough to see them as equal in value. All of that being said, my hope for you is that you will see these recent changes to U.S. national parks as being more than just about the parks themselves. See them as the presidential administration's efforts to inflate the ego of one man while also devaluing the history, as well as the day to day well being and significance of entire communities. By the way, if anyone is curious, this would apply to any president or any other leader who sought to do the same. It's not just about him, which is the point. It's not just about one person. It shouldn't be about one person. Instead, decisions should be made in consideration of its impact on everyone, including those in the majority as well as the minority. There should be consideration of not only the present, but also intentional efforts to avoid looking like or seemingly unintentionally slipping back to horrendous actions of the not so distant past. In the meantime, we can all, one conversation at a time, be honest about its significance and will use whatever power or influence you have, from leadership positions to simply your voting power, to make healthier decisions in the future, one day at a time. And with that, I say thanks again for listening in to today's Diversity Do podcast. If you have any pressing diversity related questions that you'd like me to address on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a shame free or empowering guest speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at lambertsfisher.com. And if you found this podcast message helpful and insightful, then be sure to like and subscribe so I'll know which topics you'd like me to share on future podcasts. And if you know of anyone else who can benefit from a positive and encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic, feel free to send them a link to this podcast so they can be encouraged as well, or send them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to visit TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you and that you share with someone else so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
I drew you this year.
Oh, I love scratch games. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, Tabitha.
They're so sparkly.
Festive, right?
You know it's a good gift when it's hard to let it go.
Kinda wish I drew myself.
Kind of glad you didn't.
Holiday scratch games from the Minnesota Lottery are great to give and even better to get.
So thoughtful.
I know.
You've been putting it off and time is running out. You've got just a few weeks left to apply for the Minnesota Promise Act grants. The state has more than 60 million with an M, dollars to help small businesses in greater Minnesota and parts of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Now, hurry up and go to mnpromiseact.org to fill out the application. And listen, if you need help getting it completed, don't trip. They've got trained pros who can guide you through it. Make an appointment to get started today. Hey, it's your girl Shaletta. Are you over there running low on your insulin supply and worried how you're going to pay for it? Minnesota's Insulin Safety Net program's got you covered. If you have less than a 7-day supply of insulin, you can get a 30-day refill for just $35 at any Minnesota pharmacy. Go to mninsulin.org today, print out the application, complete the form, and just take it in to your pharmacy. Go to mninsulin.org.